Saratoga Saturday on Past the Wire TV. Presented by AmWager. Nobody does it better. You're watching Saratoga Saturday. Exclusive coverage every Saturday of the meet. Only on Past the Wire TV.
Ciao, ciao, everybody. Saratoga Saturday, Week 5, Alabama Stakes.
We made it,
everybody.
Matt's right. We're having a little technical difficulties coming out of the gate.
But thanks, Matt. You blamed me. I guess technically it probably was my fault. I set up the wrong link again. We know that happened once before at the most inopportune time. Generated death threats. But
we adjusted quickly.
No, I did that for the Derby seminar, man, and people wanted to kill me. I'm not doing that again, that's for sure. But we did it tonight. But we're here. What are we? Couple minutes late, but ne vale pena. It's worth it. No worries. We're ready to roll. The last couple of weeks, we started with a little Saratoga story. We're going to start with another one. So it's a short one, but it's a fun one. All right. Now, if you look, you're looking at the record of a horse by the name of It's in the Air. Hard to find any past performances or information on this particular horse. But she was a 3-year-old filly. And if you notice, what I want to bring your attention to is at the very top of the page on August 4th, 1979, you see she ran at Saratoga. And on August 11th, 1979, she ran again right back in the Alabama Stakes, which she won both races. So now you can take that off. That was what? 7 days rest, a week's rest, whatever it was. But you can take that off, and now I'll tell you the story and why the Alabama is very special to me. And yes, Walter is right. Jim was on fire last week. Big race, Jim. So now the pressure is on to do it again. But let's go back to the last time I was on fire, which was 1979. Although that's not true. If you're a Tracking Trips member, then you know we made a score today with Destiny's Star in the, I don't know, feature race, the next to the last race. I guess the stake earlier on the card was the feature, but I like 2 horses today. One was Destiny's Star, who I bet nice to win. I bet one Cold Exacta with Chad's horse, the favorite second. Couldn't get up, one more jump, gallops out 10 lengths in front of the field. That would have been a nice one, but it was good just the same. But yes, we are going to definitely give a huge shout out to Katie. Katie was great, and John, so were you, because John, you made that happen. So big shout out to Katie, who was phenomenal and is riding great. Big shout out to you for helping make that happen. That was phenomenal. I could talk to that girl all day. She's just oozing with personality and knows racing and knows her stuff. And she was a phenomenal guest. And a couple of people told me it was one of them, more favorite interviews on the show. And we've had everybody. We've had the biggest names in racing on this show. But anyway, back to what we're going to do now is go back. 1979. My dad's a mutual clerk. I'm 17 years old, whatever the heck it was, 16, 17, 18, who can remember? Doesn't really matter. We're up at Saratoga for the summer. That's what we used to do. It was the August place to be. It was a short meet, 6, 12, 24 racing days, and you were out, okay? Now, we're up there, and back then, a lot of the people that worked at the racetrack, the mutual clerks, the white caps, the Pinkertons, used to stay at motels a little bit out of town because they would give them special rates, and they would stay there for the whole month, okay? So we were staying at a motel. It was actually like little cabins called the Swiss Chalet on Route 9N in Lake Luzerne. Nice place. Across the street from the hitching post. I don't think it's there anymore. They put up some condos. There was a trailer park next to it, but it was across the street from the hitching post, which was a popular place back then. I seen Glenn Campbell there. If it wasn't that summer, it was the summer before or after. Walked across the street, had dinner, saw Glenn Campbell. It was a stone's throw from the Painted Pony Ranch where I used to watch them ride bulls and shit. Great little area. Up there, Lake Luzerne. And it was about 10 minutes drive from Lake George. Just continue up 9N north instead of heading towards the track. Jim, you probably know the area very well.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay. So we're up at the Swiss Chalet. Now, the morning routine, you know, the one good thing about being a mutual clerk is you didn't have to be at work till like 11 o'clock in the morning. So 8 o'clock in the morning, everybody's sitting around the pool having their coffee. And there's yours truly sitting with all these mutual clerks, Pinkertons, white caps, exercise rider. The whole pool's crowded. Everybody's having coffee, bullshitting, blah, 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 and reading the form. And there I am at that dangerous age where you don't really know shit, but you think you know everything. Okay? And I'm sitting there with the racing form, and right on the cover, Devona Dale, Calumet Farm, John Veach, George Velasquez, who was a top rider back then, before Johnny was even a gleam in his father's eye. And she had won what was then called the Philly Triple Crown, which was run pretty much similar to the Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont, but they were all run in New York. It was the Acorn at a mile, the Mother Goose at a mile and an eighth, and the Coaching Club American Oaks at a mile and a half. And that was the Philly Triple Crown, and Devona Dale swept it and was coming into the Alabama, odds on, female champion. Everybody loved her. So I'm sitting there, and I'm reading the racing form, and I'm just really starting to get serious about betting and realizing that you could make a lot of money with this stuff. And this filly catches my eye. Okay, it's in the air. She was a Harborview Farm filly. She was being ridden by Jeffrey Fell. And you got to realize I don't have the past performances, and we're going back to 1979, and that's a lot of moons ago. So I remember she had run about a week before in an allowance race, going 6 or 7 furlongs, and she went wire to wire. But she had back class from California. Las Barrera was shipping her in. So I said, no way he shipped this filly in for that allowance race. He had to be pointing for the Alabama. And back then it wasn't so crazy to run a horse in a prep race, you know, a week before a major stake. So I'm looking and I'm like, you know, this filly coming out of this sprint with Jeffrey Fell, who's a good speed rider. And I'm looking, pace makes the race. I'm looking at the splits. I'm looking at where they're all going to be. I'm like, there's no way Devona Dale is going to be able to catch this horse. It's not possible. I just can't see it. And it was that day was the first time in my life that in my mind, and we've all been there, we're sure of a horse that's going to win. You just don't have any doubt. All right. She was the second or third choice, fourth choice. I don't remember. But like I said, Devona Dale was odds on. So we all pile in the cars, and everybody's talking about Devona Dale, and I'm telling her she's going to get beat. And everybody's telling me, kid, you don't know what you're talking about. Exercise riders, you kidding? She's a champion. She's one of the best, blah, 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 whatever. Watch her go down in flames. She's never going to catch this other filly. No way. So we pile in the car. We drive to the racetrack. We get there. My dad goes behind the window. My mom used to have reserved seats every day, and I was free to run around on my own all over the place like I owned it, okay? And had about, which back then wasn't a little bit of money, but I had about $150 to my name, okay? I'm up there for the summer with my parents. I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with this? Okay, this is an opportunity. So what did I do? Everybody knew me, and everybody knew my dad. So I started going around. Okay, there was one mutual clerk that used to loan money out. He was a shy, you know what I mean, and charge Vic. So his name was Jerry. I don't think he'd mind if I tell anybody. If he was still alive, he'd be looking for customers, so he wouldn't be mad that I used his name. So I went to Jerry the Shy, and I says, Jerry, can you give me some money? He goes, why not, you kid? I says, I'm good for it. Don't worry about it. You know my dad, he'll make good for me. I took $1,000 from him. I went around. I went to everybody I knew, and I came up with about 2,400 plus the money that I had right around the vicinity of $2,500. Okay, most of it begged, borrowed, and stolen. And if the horse doesn't win, I wasn't even thinking far enough ahead as to how I was going to possibly pay it back. Okay, that I wasn't. I didn't think it through that way. Okay, I'm like, I got to get as much money as I can because there's no way this filly's going to beat, and she's going to beat this champion, and I want to score. Okay, so I get all the money, and I wind up betting it all right on it's in the air. Alabama Stakes, 1979, and I went home that night. We went to Mangino's for dinner on Saratoga Lake. It was a popular Italian restaurant back then. It's in the air, did exactly what I thought. She went right to the lead. She had the lead the whole way. She never looked back. Devonadale got up for second, I believe. If she didn't, I know I hit the exacta and late double. I turned the 2,500 into about 12,000, which back then, okay, was probably like, I don't know, 25,000 today. To me, it was a lot of money, okay? Especially when you had about 140 when you walked in, all right? I paid everybody back that night or first thing in the morning and staked everybody who gave me money, all right? Everybody was like, you were right, you were right, you were right the next morning at the pool, and I had a big, fat bankroll. There was only about a week left in the meet because the next week was Travers week, and Travers was the last week because there was Travers Saturday, then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday was dark, Wednesday Belmont was open. So you were right out of there. So it was only like a week left, which may have been a good thing because I didn't really have much chance to lose the money back, much of the money back, or even run it up. Don't remember who won the Travers that year or anything. I could have looked it up, but I didn't. But it was a great story. Okay, it's a little under 52,000 today. So that's the equivalent, all right, which is nice. So I was ecstatic, and it was
Brian giving us the details.
It was one of those things that shaped me as a bettor and made sure that I was never afraid to go all in, okay? Never afraid to risk everything. And what I learned afterwards, but what I thought I learned that day is this is an easy game. All right. I subsequently was corrected with that theory because we know it's not. But that was a great Alabama story for me. It was a big, big score. And I'll never forget it. I remember it, pretty well for being that many years ago. I remember the race. I remember turning for home. I remember the feeling all the way around that I'm right. That she's not going to lose. And
John, what price did you get? What price did you get?
I don't remember. I want to say 5-2, 7-2, something like. It wasn't a big price, If somebody looked it up and it was 5 or 6 to 1, it wouldn't shock me. I don't remember, but I remember I had about the 12 grand when all was said and done. So we turned the 2,500 into 12 grand. So
beautiful thing, great story, and it's something that will never happen again because. In the beginning of your story, you said he came back a week later after running.
Yeah, he ran in an
allowance. See that again.
Coming out of a sprint. Now, an odd footnote to that story is I always liked Jockey Fell, who rode him, who was a very, very competent top rider back then. And he disappeared off the face of the earth. He was involved in the spill that crippled Ron Turcotte, the rider of Secretariat. And he rode for a short time after that and then disappeared. He was in the Canadian Hall of Fame, rode a lot of great horses. I tried very hard to find him. Impossible to find. The last thing I was able to pick up is there was talk from the people that run the Canadian Hall of Fame, Sandy Hawley and guys like that said he owned a landscaping business outside of Toronto, Ontario. And I found records for like a Fell landscaping in that area, but it's since been out of business and there's no way to find them. And I even tracked down an ex-girlfriend of his on Facebook, and she said, "You want to know something? I've been looking for him for 20 years and I can't find him." Well, maybe he's hiding from her, but he ain't hiding from me. But couldn't find Jockey Fell. So if you're out there, would love to know where you are. Steve Haskin might know where he is. He. Like I said last week, he knows where just about all the bodies are buried. So if anybody can dig up and find out where Jeffrey Fell is, it might be Steve Haskin. So maybe we'll find out next week, and maybe we won't. But with that, I'm ready to move on. But you tell me you like stories. I got a zillion of these stories. So there's 8 million stories in the Naked City, right? That's just one of them. Gio, Alabama Stakes.
You want me to lead off on the Alabama, huh?
You're hitting lead off. What do you think?
Okay, first things first.
I love a horse in the Alabama, so you go. Go.
Okay. I don't love a horse. First of all, I wanted to mention the Alabama is somewhat tainted this year because we all know who the best 3-year-old filly is, and she's not running in this race. She's running against the boys. So I think you can't start an analysis or a handicap on the Alabama knowing that Thorpedo Anna isn't a part of it. She's taken on a much greater task. She's going against the boys in the Travers, as we all know. But this is why we land on handicapping the race, but it should have started with her. Do you guys agree with that?
I'm putting my answer to that on the board.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but
yeah,
we gotta, like you said, we gotta handicap. We gotta handicap the races that are, or the horses that are here.
Gio, I'm blocking you for a second, but my comment is that's what they said about Devona Dale.
Oh, okay.
They still got to run the race.
Still, listen, lots of intrigue. It was a challenge to cap. Whenever you're talking about fillies going 1.25 miles, it's a special race because it's not something that you see every single day, especially on the soil, right? Okay, so since we're having the approach as to who we land on, I got 2 parts. I am going for an upset, but I have much respect for the horse that's going to be favored, which I'm going to speak of her first briefly, a deserving favorite, but I think she's going to be beaten by my top choice. I think Candid got the biggest break over everybody else by not having Thorpedo Anna in this race to have to defeat. Candid, obviously from the Todd Pletcher barn, second time Franco, proven it on the Saratoga Strip. I have no reservations about the distance. I think she could make it. Will be favored. I don't see any other scenario where the horse won't be favored. She's proven grade 1 winner. However, she's going to be my second choice, who I'm going to use underneath, who I land on. And this may come as a surprise to some people, but I land on none other than the 3, Power Squeeze. Let's go to Power Squeeze. All right? First things first, and I knew a lot about this gal because I watched a lot of her races as she went through her campaign this year. But Castellano's got a good handle on this filly. Doesn't have to worry about Thorpedo Anna again. She's got a nose for the wire, 5 wins in 9 starts, and they didn't come by mistake. She ran through her races. She's built for the distance, the daughter of Union Rags. I don't think she went all out in the Delaware Oaks in her last, just got up by a nose. So if you watch that race, in my opinion, I felt like she had something left. So then they brought her over to Monmouth to train for a while. And she comes into this race with, 3 breezes from Monmouth. The last one was in the wet. After I went through the field a few times, I trust Jorge Delgado. I think this horse is in great shape, and I think she's going to make her presence felt, possibly pulling off the upset over Candid. So Mr. Setti is on 3-7, 4-2. The 4 is Just Basking, and the 2 is Frankie Dettori up from Mark Lott coming over from the West Coast. But I am going to go all in with Power Squeeze as my lead horse and using only 2 in my multi-race wagering, the 3 and a 7, and my full order is 3742. On to you guys.
Okay. Jim, you want to go or you want me to hit second?
Yeah, I can go. I was really intrigued by this 4 Just Basking. That last race, just kind of jumps off the page at you. I think it might be a little bit of not necessarily a super fast pace, but I do think that there'll be a couple of horses up front trying to, vie for that lead. And the late pace figure that we're looking at here just kind of jumps off the page and fits. And that 90 buyer fits in here as well. But I did not land on the 4. I landed on the 6, Miss Justify. I like the improving figures. She's going to be one that is going to be forwardly placed. And John, this an initial sort of plug for this little project that we've been working on. This horse finishes pretty well. So I liked Miss Justify to spring a little bit of an upset for Todd Pletcher, out of or by Justify, I should say. So she's gonna be able to get the distance. And the Dam, this Swiss Alps, I looked up earlier. I don't think she raced, but we're going to take a shot with Miss Justify. I like the improving figures. Going to stretch out, figuring she's going to like the distance, and I think she's going to be in the mix early, and she also runs quite well late. So I'm figuring she's going to be in the mix at the start and at the end, and trying to spring a little upset at 6-1.
Interesting, and you're right about the mare. She never did race, but she was by Mendelssohn, so she's got that super breeding. Leslie's Lady and all those others. So she was actually my second choice, believe it or not, and part of that was what you alluded to in that little project we're working on that you will all find out about soon enough. Which may change how many of you handicap, but we'll get to that as soon as we can. Not today. I landed on a different horse. Now, last week in the Saratoga Special, Jim pegged the winner. I had the second horse, and Gio had the third horse. So we had the 3 of us on the stage. We had 3 different horses, and they did run 1, 2, 3, with Jim getting the credit for the winner. Gio and I was second and third, but second and third don't matter. Second place is the first loser, and third.
And the triple paid $367 with the 3 horses.
Right, and it wasn't a big field, but that was it, But Jim nailed it really nice. Okay, now I landed on number 2, Chatalas. I disagree with something that Gio said, and I disagree with something that Big Race Jim said. Gio said that he thought, the horse that he liked benefited the most from Thorpedo Anna being out of the race.
Power squeeze.
And I think that Chatalas actually benefits the most from Thorpedo Anna being out of the race, because Thorpedo Anna, we know, is a grizzly bear and could have, could go after anybody that's out there winging anytime she wants and kind of inhale them. But speed is always dangerous. And I see Chatalas as the speed of the race. I think she'll clear the field the way I thought Arthur's Ride would clear the field in the Whitney. I think she'll be on the lead by 1.5 lengths, 2 lengths into the first turn with Frankie on the inside. And I think the race might be over. Now, one thing that Jim and I know about this particular filly from being out at the Breeders' Cup and talking to her connections and just getting a little familiar with her a while back, and she didn't run good that day, but she's a fighter, and if you watch her races, she digs in and fights when she's in it. And I think she's going to be in it. And I think that with Thorpedo Anna out of this race, I look at this race, and with the exception of the horse that Jim likes, Miss Justify, who is kind of coming into her own, and actually the one I fear the most. I look at this race this year as really a bunch of second stringers, and I mean no disrespect to any of the horses or any of the connections, but I don't see any real superstars in here. I don't see anybody that's all that in a bag of chips. I don't see any Breeders' Cup Distaff winning horses in here like we had with Nest and other horses in this race over the past couple of years. I see some good grade 1, grade 2 fillies, but no stars. And I think a field like that, Chatalas on the lead, can take advantage of, can get the right pace. And I think if by chance the track is speed favoring on Saturday and playing kind that way, I think the race is over, and I'm probably going to make we've talked about this before. When you're talking about a race 2-3 days in advance. Yeah, we have the benefit of the draw. We don't have the benefit of the weather, but you're giving people a stick and just inviting them to beat you up with it when you make predictions this far out. But I will say that if this race was right now and they were in the paddock and heading in the gate, I'd probably be making a very nice wager on Chatalas and betting a big exacta with Miss Justify second, and hopefully just waiting by the window to cash my ticket, because I do think she's going to be very, very tough to beat, and I think she's going to be a fair price. And I'm in. I got a much stronger opinion in the Alabama than I do in the next race. We're going to talk about, what is it, the Lake Placid, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But
Hey, John.
I like Chatalas.
One comment, because you listeners will know that when I
Are you going to challenge me? Like
no challenge. It's not a challenge. It's a comment.
You can.
No, I'm not challenging. What I did was I gave out my precise order, 3-7-4-2. So
Yes.
the two made my handicap, as I like to share. One of the things I wanted to share about that gal, I was intrigued because she was a daughter of Gunrunner, so I don't have reservations about the distance. But for a filly to make her second start of the year in this spot, and I just felt she was just a little light from a buyer speed perspective. Not challenging. I think she'll improve, but in my opinion, she needs to improve greatly. And then the question here is, how's she going to handle the trip? Coming from the West Coast, she does have a workout over the Saratoga soil, but they brought her to Churchill first. And I was just a little torn by that. Why would they bring her to Churchill, breeze, then go from Churchill to Saratoga? Maybe that's what I wanted to ask you.
I don't know the answer to that. And I also found it odd that she ran under Grant Foster's name as opposed to Mark Glatz in the last race, and now they moved back, to Glatz. So I don't really know the backstory to that. I do know Antonio Fresu rides Maduro in the stake on Saturday, who was undefeated until her last start on the grass, and it was a very highly regarded grass filly. So I could see why he stayed, and I don't think it takes anything away from Chatalas's chances, but I think she's very dangerous winging on the lead, and I'll be hoping for a little Frankie magic. And Frankie hasn't really been on fire at Saratoga. He did win a race today, wire to wire, on a Clement first time starter. So we know that
Yeah, so it wasn't a challenge. It was a comment because the gal made my handicap, and I'm going to use her underneath. I just felt there was going to be 3 horses on the lead, but I wouldn't be surprised if Frankie is leading at the half, 48 and change.
Definitely worth the look, Scott, and I will. No, Chatalas, I believe, will be in front, into that first turn, onto the backstretch, heading into the far turn. And, then that's when I think this race really starts. If they can go and get her, they're going to go and get her. But if they can't, I think she's going to be dangerous.
So, John, interestingly,
the one thing I hate about a race like this, and I'll just say this, if she doesn't go for the lead, and the rider kind of gets like another idea in his head, or there's different instructions. She winds up sitting third or fourth. She's not going to win, and I can tear up my tickets going into the first turn. And I hate when that happens. I hate when a guy's on the speed of the speed and the fastest horse in the race, and they don't go. I don't envision a scenario where that happens. I think from the inside, she almost has to go. But if she doesn't, you'll know that I shut the TV off and close down my app, and I'll find out who won next week when we do the recap.
And John, interestingly enough, I felt that Louise for George Arnold, right, the daughter of Arrogant, I thought that horse by default needs to be forwardly placed around the first turn when they pass the stands. So that's one of the things I put in my equation. Interesting that we're all three collectively were shorting Candid, but on paper and track performance, Candid is a horse, is training for a race like this. Do you guys have reservations of Candid running well? I feel I'm pulling off an upset with Power Squeeze, but Candid looks to be like a gal that can make a mile and a quarter. What's your opinion on that?
I definitely think she'll get the mile, and I don't think the distance is an issue at all for most of these, really. I don't think the distance is going to be a problem for any of them. I think I just think she's a little bit overrated. I don't think she's all that good. I mean, there's nobody that good in this field. So yeah, absolutely. Can she win it at 3-2, 7-5, and all of a sudden she's an Alabama winner? Sure, she can. But I think she's a good favorite to try and beat, in my opinion. And obviously, you guys agree. So you got two opinions that think she's beatable, and I don't think the shape of the race really sets up for her.
And we can also conclude that if Thorpedo Anna was in this race, she'd probably be 1-5 in this field.
Yeah, for sure. I think part of what steered me away from Candid and even Power Squeeze was just that they've just been getting knocked around by Thorpedo Anna, and I don't think either has kind of risen to that level on this circuit. And I do think, to John's point, Candy's a bit overrated. I think Power Squeeze is a bit overrated. I think seeing Thorpedo Anna's tail for the last couple of months has got to be a little bit of shot to their confidence. And I thought that this field was pretty evenly matched. So I was going to look elsewhere away from those two, but certainly wouldn't be surprised if either of them won. And, I would imagine Candid will be the most bet horse in this race for sure.
She's 7-5 on the morning line. Power Squeeze is 9-2 on the morning line. And Chatalas is 8-1 on the morning line for those that are.
For our viewers, let me mention another thing about Power Squeeze. And please watch the replays, because I'm a maniac. I watch the races over and over, and I find specific movement, ingredient, the guts, the tenacity. I was impressed with her a few times. And in my opinion, that race at Delaware, which I mentioned, they did not go all out. That was a tune-up. She just got up by a whisker, but it was a tune-up. And I think she's going to go forward, and it's going to be very interesting what happens in this Alabama, that's for sure.
Yeah. Rosemary brought up something interesting. Rosemary, you brought up Intricate. And I don't remember when it was, but I think it was on this show. I actually thought Intricate had a shot to win a race. I think it was even with Thorpedo Anna in it, if memory serves. Oh, no, I thought she was going to come second. I think I liked her ice cold for second in a Thorpedo Anna race. I don't remember. But I know I liked her, and it was pretty much, everything you said. She was a big-time, filly last year. She just, in my opinion, didn't go forward, didn't come back the way that I thought she would have. And I was a little disappointed with her last race in that she couldn't get second in that race. And I was disappointed in the race before that, which I thought she was definitely going to win. So I think everybody in here looks beatable. So I'm going to take the horse I think is going to be in front, and I think has some fight in her and can maybe hold these off. So that's how and why I'm landing on Chatalas. And if she's, like I said, if she's not in front, I'll be surprised and I'll be click with the remote. I'm done. We're out. Nothing worse than that. When you got a horse supposed to be on the lead and they're sitting fourth and the jockey's sitting there and you're thinking, what are you doing? What are you doing? And sometimes that happens. We know, Okay, we got another race, don't we?
We do.
This race I thought was extremely, extremely difficult. I'll lead this one off because I really, really, be totally honest, I have no idea who was going to win it. I narrowed it down to 4 horses that I liked. The 2 Greyosh, I thought had a big shot. I'm not ready to give up on Galabrand yet, who I loved last time out and did not fire. But that's not why I like her. I like her for the same reasons I liked her last time. I think I land on Spaladay as my top choice to 5, but I respect the heck out of the comebacker, who's going to be the favorite. She feels pretty, who's probably the most talented filly in here. But at a short price, first race back, even with a super hot trainer, I'm willing to take a shot to beat her, and I'm gonna land on Spaladay. But if I bet like a late sequence, like we talked about, Whitney Day, I'm gonna be singling Chatalas. So that horse is 8-1, 7-1, 6-1 at worst, maybe 9 or 10-1 if I get lucky. I'm singling that horse. So I could use the 4 that I liked in there with no problem, and even throw that filly in as the favorite. And if she wins, it ain't going to hurt me none in the late pick 5 or pick 4 or pick 6 or whatever I decide to go after. So that's it. But I like Spaladay, the Tory again, but that's really not a factor for me. I thought the last race was really a sign that he was coming around at the right time, stepping up at the right time. I love Chad with these kind of horses when he moves them up and puts them in tough spots. When it looks like he's been a little bit patient with them, and they kind of come around, they tend to deliver and run really, really big. So I'm going to land there and probably use that as the go back horse and maybe, fool around with that horse alone a little bit. But a wide open race, and anybody who any of you guys come up with, or any members of the clan come up with, would not surprise me at all.
Interesting, John. You want me to go up, Jim? Are you ready?
I'll go. I landed on the 9, Proctor Street. I thought that last race, that optional claimer, he just got up over that Greyosh at Saratoga. And if you go back and watch the replay, the horse was in the back and was basically 6 or 7 wide into the stretch and ran on and got up at the wire in a wide open field where I couldn't really, make heads or tails at where a lot of the money is going to go. I figured I'd land on this horse. I thought that last race was really impressive, especially being swung out so far wide and still being able to run on and power down the stretch like that to beat Greyosh, who's a quality racehorse. I like the 9 Proctor Street. Okay.
I kind of thought Greyosh would maybe turn the tables on him, and I thought he should have beat him last time and didn't. But you bring out he did.
Greyosh shouldn't have lost that race. So that was a little bit of a knock. I was kind of splitting hairs between the two of them, and I thought Greyosh had the much better trip and couldn't seal the deal. So That's what drew me off him.
Geo Big Guns.
All
What do you
righty.
got?
First things first, interestingly enough, Jim, I didn't land on Proctor Street, but Proctor Street made my handicap. And while it's fresh in my mind, I want to just add to a couple of things that you said. I felt it was pretty intriguing how they campaigned the horse. The daughter of street sense begins her career over at Indiana Grand, and it's a 1.16 miles. So they're going 8.5 furlongs from the get-go. Visually impressive, and was equally visually impressive in terms of her willingness to get to the wire. And I like horses like that begin their career at a distance and come unrelenting both times. And she didn't have the best of trips. So I just figured I'd mention that first. She's actually fourth on my handicap, but when the horse makes a handicap, I want to say something about it. Guys, I landed on a cold exacta, which I'm going to play pretty strong. I'm not cherry picking here, and I'm not going with the favorite, but in my opinion, she feels pretty. Just had an overwhelming advantage from a full body of work perspective, class. I like how she ran as a juvenile, and now the 2 races as a 3-year-old. I was impressed. And I believe Cinderella's Dream, who beat her last time, came back and won.
She did.
Right? Correct. There's a lot of buzz about Cherie DeVoe. She's doing a fabulous job. On a horse like this that's going to sit right off the pace, who does not need the lead, I trust Johnny V. And you know what? I couldn't get past this horse. So She Feels Pretty is going to be my top choice, but I'm going to go too deep in my multiples, and I'm going to play a rock solid cold exacta and triple. So I mentioned that Proctor Street was my 4th choice. Let me give you my 2nd underneath. I was intrigued. I'm surprised that, John, you didn't mention this horse. I was going to ask you your opinion. The 6, Les Rays, coming in from France, U.S. debut. Rosario's up for Christophe Clement. This is the type of spot I've seen Clement, and coincidentally, Rosario riding for him, showed much success in the past. So the horse comes off his back-to-back wins at France. To be honest with you, I couldn't check the integrity of the company, but I gathered it was good. Low-grade stakes race, handicap races. But the campaigning is what intrigued me. 3 races as a juvenile, continues on, all on the green. The pedigree check mark on the green, made for the distance, comes in on a 2-win win streak. I don't think she's good enough to beat She Feels Pretty, but I wouldn't be surprised if she fills the exact. She's a good-looking gray. You could check her out online. And one more thing. I love the fact that she came and she got acclimated to the Saratoga lawn with a couple of workouts. I just like that. I like what Christophe Clement is doing with the horse. So I'm 7-6 hard. And my 3rd choice is Spaladay, who you mentioned. Frankie's up for Chad Brown, training well, proven at the distance, and I think the horse will move forward. I may possibly use Spaladay in my multiples. That's a game time decision. But I'm going 7, 6, 5, and 2. No, excuse me, 7, 6, 5, and where's my Proctor? The 9. 7, 6, 5. Make sure I get the numbers right. 9. 7, 6, 5, 9.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you off the hook because you picked the 6 for second. But you started, if we were in court, I would say to the stenographer, can you go back and read his testimony? Because you started by saying, I'm not picking the favorite, and then you picked the favorite.
No. I said, I don't want you to think I'm cherry picking with the favorite, because I know She Feels Pretty is going to be favorite. I couldn't get past her. That's what I meant. So my
All right.
apologies. No. My cap lands on She Feels Pretty. I just think the 6 is going to run big in this spot because I can appreciate her campaigning.
I looked long and hard at the 6, and I like to zoom in on these European horses when I can. Clement, he won a race today, but he's not having his best Saratoga. Joel is not having his best Saratoga. I think this is a very, very competitive race. I think she fits, but I don't think she's. I just didn't land on her. I liked the other 4 better, but like I said, this race, I wouldn't talk anybody off any horse, and there's very little in this race that really would surprise me. I think
are you going 4 deep, John? You're going 4 deep in your multiples?
Yeah, no question about it. Maybe even 5, which I can afford to do single and Chatalas. When part of ticket structure is so important. When you are singling a horse that's going to be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to 1 in a sequence, that gives you a lot of room in those other legs. You know what I mean? So you don't want to go too deep and get stupid and put into your own profit, but it certainly gives me the room to go 4 deep and include She Feels Pretty, who if she's gone forward from 2 to 3, which a lot of the good ones do, she can be very tough first time out of the box. But I think it's a good shot to try and beat her, and it's a good shot to try and beat Candid in the Alabama. I see both favorites as vulnerable. So there you have your cold double.
But John, let me say one thing.
Candid.
You said She Feels Pretty's coming off a layoff out of the box. She's not. She ran early July. So she's right on target for this race.
Yeah. I it's already, that's like almost, it's almost 6 weeks, or it is, isn't it? Isn't it 6 weeks?
We'll call it 5 weeks. Yeah. I just felt like she was training adequately, and I don't think we've seen the best of her. And obviously she was in a Breeders' Cup, and she just missed that day and didn't get the best of trips. If you watch that race again,
no, she's a serious horse. I
also wanted to mention, because I mentioned this on different shows. Another thing that's coincidental about She's So Pretty. Look at her campaigning. This is her 6th race, and it's the 6th different turf course. She hasn't run on the same turf course twice. So she travels well. She's already at Saratoga. I think we see a quality race from her. That's why I couldn't get past her. But I'm playing my exacta strong, and I'm using my second choice in the multiples.
I will say Val Place made a really good point about this 9 Proctor Street coming off Lasix, as is my crutch. I usually realize that too late, as evidence a couple of weeks ago in the Vanderbilt, when my top choice Subrogate basically stopped running at the quarter pole. So we'll see what happens with Proctor Street, but a good point by
off Lasix, bad angle. So I don't let that worry me too much. We talked about that. I'll take them off Lasix. That doesn't stop me. I mean, I consider it.
And by the way, she beat Destiny Star, who came back and won today. She was in that same race, Proctor Street.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Listen,
that's one of the reasons I like Destiny Star in the race today and bet on her, was because she didn't have the best of trips in this last race, and she finished okay. And I liked her today, but I bet her. I just couldn't get the ice cold exacta.
Yeah, and like I said, you don't see many fillies. One more thing about Proctor Street. You don't see many fillies that begin their career and debut at 1 1/16 on the lawn And they jumped her right from that maiden special win to a pretty solid full 10-horse field optional claimer on the Saratoga turf. So, yeah, she's in shape. Like I said, she's going to be strictly underneath, but I wouldn't be surprised if she ran forward and, she was in the mix coming hard down the lane, the 8th pole.
Yeah, I mean, it's like one of those things, you got to kind of roll the dice first time off Lasix and see if she doesn't run very well, like Subrogate. You never bet them back off Lasix. But until you got some evidence, we're gonna roll with it.
And Brian,
I thought our last race was really good.
Brian brings out a good point. We did have a good conversation on the show with Ken McPeak about that very thing. So if you go back and watch that show, you may,
And guys, if you guys remember the show about the Vanderbilt, I was very pronounced about shorting Subrogate because I was concerned about the way he performed 4 races in a row with Lasix and was coming off and stepping up.
Well, I still think this is a wide open race. I still think both favorites are a little bit vulnerable. Yet, they won't surprise me if they win, but I'm going to try and beat both of them. I think I got a good shot to do it with Chatalas in the Alabama. This race, the favorite may lose, and I still may not win. I mean,
and they're back-to-back races too, so you could play a daily double too.
Yeah, I'm not going to be playing. Well, I shouldn't say that. See, hopefully I'll be alive and,
One thing I know for sure, if Power Squeeze wins the Alabama, Mr. Setti's going to have a nice day. That's all I'm going to leave it at that because I'm already starting to plan my wagering opportunities.
Walter, that's an interesting point. When I saw that horse and Manny on that horse, I said to myself, what would this horse go off if Buick came in to ride or Pratt was on it? And obviously it would be considerably less than that 10-1. But yeah, you're right.
Who's he speaking of? A Beautiful Love?
Yeah. The Godolphin horse.
Listen, I'd be shocked. Guys, I'd be shocked if you get 10-1 with that horse. I put a circle around that horse. Also making a U.S. debut. Everything Charlie Appleby travels with, you got to respect. And I appreciate the pedigree, but you're not getting 10-1, guys. I have her marked down that she's going to be 7-2 or 4-1.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. That's what I personally believe. I could be off.
That's a tough post at that distance, but she can definitely win. I would probably put her in before I would put Clement's horse in, but we'll see. She would probably be the next one. Rosemary, gosh, I may be off today, but isn't 10? Hold on. What does Rosemary have to say here?
She's talking about dynamic pricing.
Right. Obvious? I wouldn't say obvious. Contender, yeah. I mean, I like the other, the up and comers more, but listen, I'm not going to talk anybody off anybody in this race. I just think it's a wide open Lake Placid. I think that anybody can win. Just about. I narrowed it down to those 4 because I think, they're the ones that to me are most likely to go forward here. But that's a race as they're going in the gate, even 4 or 5 deep. And this is a terrible feeling in a multi-race wager. A lot of you can identify with this. But when you got 4 or 5 horses in a 10-horse field or whatever it is, 11-horse field, and you got 4 or 5 of them, and they're going in the gate, and you're not extremely confident, you probably shouldn't bet the sequence.
Jimmy, what's you smiling about, Jimmy?
Oh, that's like me every weekend.
Oh, okay. Hey, guys, listen,
Oh, why is this sixth horse that I don't have on my ticket taking all this money?
We all shake.
It's a terrible feeling. Yeah.
By the way, two things. You know what happened to me today? Oh, I have to do this. If he's watching, if you're watching, chime in. I got to give a shout out to Frank, who ran into me at the simulcasting center, a very rare Wednesday visit. I went there, put in my pick 5, stayed for a few races, and he says, "Hey, Gio, what's going on?" I turn around. He says, "You're the guy. I watched you on Past the Wire." So a shout out to Frank in Manahawkin. And with that said, Frank, if you're watching, chime in. And one other thing, back to the Alabama. You know, when I forget to make a note or share something that I spoke about or was going to speak about, my third choice in the Alabama under Power Squeeze and Candid, I mentioned Just Basking. I want to ask you guys your opinion of this. I was intrigued with one thing about Just Basking. It's Ian Wilkes and Chris Landros is going to ride third time Chris Landros at Saratoga. You don't see that scenario very often. But this is a horse that came off Lasix and ran like the wind blows off Lasix. And it's a very odd campaigning. You got working exclusively on the synthetic. So begins her career at Turfway, goes to Keeneland, then onto the soil at a long distance at Churchill, then comes back in the Iowa Oaks and without Lasix and runs huge. So it's a daughter of Arrogate, third choice. I may be compelled to play a Power Squeeze with Just Basking exacta on top of my Power Squeeze Candid exacta. But I wanted you guys' opinion on a horse like this and his tracking path towards leading him to the Alabama.
Yeah, I mentioned this horse a little while ago, and I thought the figures fit. It was just not so much the campaign, just the trainer jockey combo. I just couldn't back it.
How about you, John? What's your thoughts on this gal's path to leading her to the Alabama?
I think she's improving, but I think she's got to improve considerably to compete here, and I don't see it. Here's an interesting comment. Thank you, Brad. Appreciate that. I thought we do it in 1080, don't we, Jim? How come we're not high def? We should be. Yeah,
that's a good question. I'll have to look into it.
Yeah, we should be, Brad. You're right. We should be in 1080. We certainly are set up
over here.
I don't know why we're not. I mean, on my screen, what I see looks definitely HD. If it doesn't transpose to you guys that way, I don't know why. And if it doesn't go up on YouTube that way, I certainly don't know why. But it certainly should be.
Yeah, I'll have to play with it because it looks like my camera itself is 720. So I that might just be the default. So we'll play with it and boost it for next time.
All right. Yeah. I know it's hard to read the type on my 4K screen. Yeah, so okay. Thoughts on the Del Mar Oaks? Not yet. I'm not that far ahead. We're way out. So it's hard enough to come up with opinions here on Wednesday night for Saturday. We just like to do it early so we could get it out there and people have time to see it because you do it Friday night. I don't want to put everybody under the gun. Next week, Travers week. I'm going to try to do a Travers Thoroughgraph by the numbers and patterns show. Probably Wednesday, Thursday, whenever it comes out. Hopefully it comes out soon enough for me to get that done. Next week's show will be a little bit more involved because there's going to be the Travers and a bunch of other stakes, and Gio is a main part of this clan, so he's probably going to talk for about 2 hours and 45 minutes. I'm going to leave the screen and go have dinner while he's talking. And I mean, go like out to dinner in a restaurant and come back, and he'll still be.
You can never get enough information,
He'll
right?
still be telling us why he likes.
Hey, by the way, I have a horse on the undercard. We can't forget that. Well,
Okay.
before we wrap it up, if we each of us have a horse on the undercard.
I don't. I haven't even looked at the undercard, so you're way ahead of me if you have.
Can I offer one right now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Huh.
You guys, the viewers, write it down. Notes. I got a horse that may single in my pick 5. I love this angle. It's a state-bred optional claim of 45,000. Go to race 6. In races like this, on the lawn, I always look for a horse that is state-bred, that was very successful in open company. And I think Call Me Harry is a horse that if he runs close to his best, he could win the race by 3. So I'm offering Call Me Harry, New York bred, racing exclusively in open company, facing optional claimer, state bred rivals on the lawn. Luis Saez sits second, drills him late in front.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
not from me. The drop down to 45 doesn't scare you?
You know what? It was concerning, but again, sometimes you got to take what you see. He's got such a tactical advantage. I mean, would they really just throw him to the wolves in fairly good form and let him and just lose him? Right? He's got the tag 45,000. I just don't see anybody else that could run with this horse, and to me, it's a legit favorite. What, John? When you see a horse,
I'm not worried about it, and I'll tell you why. I think Rick Dutrow is an uncharacteristic 1 for 15, and then when it gets late in the meet, where week 5, people start dropping horses to win and putting them in spots where they're going to win. So I think it's more likely that that's what he's doing.
yeah. I mean, think about his campaign. He's almost exclusively running an open company, and I just think it's a clean spot. I trust Luis Saez, second time out, and horse is training well, working on the lawn around the dogs. I'd be very surprised if the horse threw a lemon out there, but on paper, I don't see the horse losing. I don't know if you guys capped the race yet, but
I have
want to
not.
mention that.
I have not.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I haven't looked at it all that close either, to be honest. But I will say, in a race like this, I would probably prefer somebody a little bit more lightly raced. That Call Me Harry's got 33
He's an 8-year-old.
career starts.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, that's just my brief thoughts without looking at anybody else.
Interesting that you say that, John, and Jim. I don't make my business betting 8, 9, and 10-year-olds. I don't. And in fact, I short those normally. I really do.
Yeah.
But this guy seems to be training well. His recent form from a win perspective is nice. He's a horse for the course at Saratoga. He hasn't won in 24, but he's facing much better, faster horses. I don't know, man. He's in this right. Like John just made a good point. Rick Dutrow, maybe he just wants a W. Maybe this horse wins by 4. At least on paper, it looks like he can.
I think he's dropping him for a win, which is what a lot of people do in that situation, and it makes sense. Everybody wants to win at the Spa, and when it gets late in the meet, and you're not racking up those wins, you tend to aggressively place your horses. So, all right. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Gary says it looks HD for him. I don't know.
I think
we're gonna check on that.
Yeah, I think, well, the camera resolution, at least mine, is 720. I think part of the problem is that I just wasn't zoomed in enough on the PPs. So next week I'll make sure that they're a little bit closer to the eyes.
Thank you, Tommy. Much appreciated.
Tommy Dimes in the house.
Nobody does it better. Nobody's got more passion than Gio. We appreciate all you guys. Next week, if you've got any suggestions to how we're going to do it, let us know, because we don't know how we're going to do it. We don't know what we want to do a hat giveaway and give away 2 or 3 of these hats. We got the ones that say pass the wire. Then we got some with just the diamond on the horse on it, which is kind of nice, that don't say pass the wire. So only those in the know will know what it means, which is kind of cool. I like that. It's just the diamond emblem with our horse, our logo up there. So we want to do a hat giveaway. So if anybody has any ideas as to how we do it, and eventually we'll have hats for everybody. Right now we only got a couple because I didn't know whether they were going to be good or nice. So I didn't buy that many. I bought about 20 of them, and most of them are gone. So we got a couple left to give out, and we're going to buy more. But until we do, we want to give some out. So we want to do a hat giveaway either for the Travers or the next week. So any ideas, put them in the comments, and we'll do a hat giveaway for a couple of you, because we appreciate everybody on the show, everybody that's part of the clan. We love you all, and we enjoy doing these. So thanks.
Another thing, if it's possible, if I can add to what John just shared, maybe you can add something or share in the comments about next week's show. Obviously, we're going to cover a deep dive on the Travers, but the Forgo is always a monster race. So is the Ballerina and the Allen Jerkins. So, it's going to be a long show if we cover 4, but we'd like to hear from you guys too. What do you think right now, John? What are we going to do? We're going to cover those, all the grade 1s at least?
We have to, but what I was thinking is maybe we'll do 2 shows and break it up. Maybe we'll do 1 show earlier and then do 2 races and then do another show later and do the other 2 races or something like that. This way we don't tie everybody up for an hour and a half, because it gets gets a little lengthy for some people, myself included. So.
The good news is the PPs will come out on Sunday. So
right. So yeah, we got time to do maybe we'll do
time
2
to
shows. And this way we could cover everything, and we don't got to worry about rushing Gio when he's got 20 more things he wants to say, and we're cutting them off. So
I tell you, it's a crazy, compelling field. It really is, and the gal facing the boys just makes it that much more compelling.
Yeah, you're gonna think I'm nuts, okay? But I'll say it anyway because I really don't care what people think. If Prince of Monaco shows up for the Allen Jerkins, I agree. I think that race is probably for second. But I would say this. I would love Thorpedo Anna to be in the Alabama. And I would still be betting Chatalas, and I may get inhaled. That's okay. But I'd be getting inhaled at 15 or 18 or 16 to 1 instead of at 6, 7, or 8 to 1 on a speed horse that I think is dangerous. And I always think, a lot of people disagree with this philosophy, but I always think I loved Forgo too, man. I have his horseshoe in my office when he won the Met Mile, the actual race-worn Forgo horseshoe, Vale Place. I got it. But what I was going to say is none of these horses are machines. You know what I mean? It ain't like you're getting out there and you're pressing that start button of a Maserati or a Ferrari or a Porsche or a Mercedes or anything like that, and you know exactly what's going to happen. You don't. So, I always say, if today's the day they get beat, sometimes you don't think it's going to be that day, but if you're right on those days, you can make a score. And I would like Chatalas probably, even if Thorpedo Anna was in the race, knowing that she could inhale me. That's part of the game. We take our shots. I'm not afraid to do that. But that would make the price tremendous. Now, come Travers Day, next Saturday, people are already talking like, oh, she's a foregone conclusion to win. She's the best 3-year-old in the country. She's this, she's that. And she probably is the best 3-year-old in the country. And she probably is going to be extremely difficult to beat in the Travers. But that race ain't over. Don't think for 1 second that race ain't over. They still got to get to the race. They still got to load in the gate. And they still got to run a mile and a quarter.
And she's got to deal with fierceness.
She's got to deal
with door knock. Door knocks become a hard hitter.
No, excuse me. No, she doesn't.
Oh, yeah?
He's not running.
Oh, he's out.
He's not in there.
Oh, okay.
Fierceness?
I
Is he?
should know that.
Yeah, no, he's. I thought he's. I haven't heard that he's not running in the Travers.
Because I
no breaking news. No, I'm not breaking.
Are you sure you're not mixing him up with Mindframe?
I could be.
Mindframe's the one that got a little injured, I think.
Okay.
I've been following Fierceness pretty closely because
Really, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, again, I had my day with Fierceness when Sierra Leone couldn't get to him, and he shined when everybody doubted him, and I stood grounded to the task at hand.
Well, there's 2 horses that I think are extremely dangerous in the Travers. And I haven't done the race yet, but that horse that Chad ran that won the Curlin, what is that horse's name?
Oh, like Infinite Wisdom or
no. Oh man, somebody put it up there.
Hold on, I'll get it. Hold on a second.
Who won the Curlin?
Dynamic. Unmatched Wisdom.
Unmatched Wisdom. Thank you, Walter. That horse to me, all right. You got that filly who's a grizzly bear. He looks like a bear himself. So that horse can run. I like that horse a lot. And let me tell you, a lot of people are, but I'm not, Brian. If Sierra Leone comes back and runs a big race in the Travers, I will not be surprised. I know that horse's best race. Can win that race. Let's see how the pace looks. I know he had a great setup last time and didn't get it done, but there's a word in the dictionary called redemption, right? And it's in there. That guy Webster didn't make that up for no reason, whoever he was. Yeah. But redemption.
And he's going to be like 3rd or 4th choice. I mean,
Exactly. And that horse can run, man. I still think he's right with the best of the 3-year-olds. I still think he's every bit as good as Fierceness on the right day. So we'll see.
And it's at a mile and a quarter too. So
exactly. Changes the whole game.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. So to me, Thorpedo Anna, I know it's great for the game. Everybody's going to be rooting. Love to see the filly beat the boys. Probably as the favorite, not with my money on her.
Listen, if she comes to play and beats the boys, and something I've said for a few races now, this will just reinforce it. I'm starting to think she's just as good or leading up to be as good as Personal Ensign. She's a special filly.
Personal Ensign,
she's winning.
Personal Ensign was 10 for 10 or 11 for 11. Won that
13 for 13.
And won that Breeders' Cup in the slop, which she ran down winning colors with a pin in her leg off that layoff. I don't know that you can put a lot of horse.
I didn't say as good.
Even in that conversation.
I didn't say as good. I said if she wins the Travers and then performs great in the Breeders' Cup, she's going to come back as a 4-year-old and she's going to be on the path to Personal Ensign greatness. That's what's at stake here.
All right.
And look, it's going to be hard for me because I love her and I love Fierceness. And by the way, guys, don't think for one matter that when Gio said he does his handicap for the Travers, that by default I'm going to land on those two. That doesn't work. I treat every race differently.
Listen,
obviously,
I
know
could
a lot
find
about
out.
them, so yeah.
I could find out, and those of you that watch the show are going to know the truth. I could find out who Gio is going to land on in the Travers. I just have to text Jimmy the Cop, and he will tell us.
Yeah, that was amazing.
No doubt whatsoever who Gio is going to land on in the Travers. Now, tonight, he could tell us. I'm not going to do it because we don't want to take the mystery and suspense out of it. But Jimmy the Cop knows. He knows who you're going to land on. He knows whether it's Fierceness, Thorpedo Anna, or somebody completely different. Because every now and then, to me, maybe not to Jimmy the Cop, but to me, just when you think you got Gio figured out and you know exactly where he's going to land, and I've been doing this with him for a long time, so I know he comes up with some horse out of left field that you never expected, that's like 14-1, and you're like, where did this come from?
Okay, yeah.
And Gio loves him. So I won't venture into guessing who Gio is going to come up with in the Travers.
Yeah, and listen, I gave the unexpected with Power Squeeze. I'm telling you, in the Alabama, that horse, she's got heart, and she's got a nose for the wire, and she's going to perform. Let's see what happens.
You just thought we were slow. We are slow. We're slow. We're fast. It depends. If we're running from the cops, we're fast. If we're talking horses, we're slow. It all depends on the situation.
This was a special sneak peek at the Travers pre-production show meeting.
Right. Exactly. This is the Travers, the pre-Travers. Right. We're going to put that in the write-up, and people will watch. Say early look at the Travers. I think here's my prediction. My early prediction. Chad Brown won his very first 4-star Dave with Carl Spackler in his backyard, Saratoga Springs. My prediction is Chad Brown wins his first Travers in 2024. I just don't know which horse it's going to be with, but that's my prediction.
Woo! Yeah, Carl Spackler looked sparkling. Man, that horse looked great.
Personal Ensign is one of the all-time greats. I got a signed print of her in the war room inside too. I'm outside on the lanai right now. We got the canal. We got dolphins out there swimming. I hear them splashing. It's not
Personal
too hot.
Ensign, if you want to get goosebumps, watch Personal Ensign's final race, Breeders' Cup, beaten the length of the stretch. She comes back from nowhere to get up, winning her 13th straight. No, she's special.
ran down winning colors, a Derby winning filly on a track that she hated. She hated that sloppy track. She didn't want to pick up her feet. And when it came into the stretch and time to go to work, Randy Romero and her I mean, that was all something you can't teach. Hot, man. That was hot. That was, getting knocked down in the 15th round by somebody stronger, tougher, who hits harder, and getting up and just beating them. But all right, guys, I think that was a nice show. I hope everybody enjoyed it. We covered the Travers. Well, now we don't have to do the Travers, right?
We went from 2 shows to no shows.
Yeah, we did the 2 shows, no shows. We're off next week, everybody, so there'll be no show next week. So do not tune in. But now we'll be back with a lot more, and hopefully we'll get it right today. Last week we hit the trifecta in the Saratoga Special. Maybe we can do it again in the Alabama or the Lake Placid, because interestingly enough, we're in both races, all 3 on 3 different horses. So let's hope that one of us has the winner in both of the races.
And if someone used in a Saratoga Special a $2 triple box, they collected $367 on a $12 bet, but you had to box it. Unless you went all in on Big Race Jim having the winner on top.
Love it. Wait, he found it. Okay. Thank you, Ben Voto. Big shout out. Yes, Mr. Prospector. And another reason My mom was the only one who believed in me that day because she always used to love Razor Native horses. Mr. Prospector was by Razor Native. And for years, when I was a little kid before that, 5, 6 years old, every time there was a Razor Native horse in the program, my mom didn't read the form. She read the Hermes page and the program. She would always circle Razor Native and point it out to me and say, oh, always watch these Razor Native horses. They're fast. So that always stayed in my mind. But paid $820. It's in the air. Thank you for that.
Wow, what a pull. Found the price from what was that, 1979?
1979.
Wow. Hey, well, I'm going to give you something. No computer in front of me. 1979, Pleasant Colony, Kentucky Derby. Look it up. That's Gio Setti, the historian.
General Assembly in the Travers, in the slop.
I wasn't born yet.
Right? You weren't born yet. Gio, you'll be able to relate to this, okay? Yeah. Jim, this is before your time, but Gio will remember this from the Brooklyn days, I think. You were a year or two younger than me, so maybe not. But that night, that Saturday night, that It's in the Air won, and I made the 12,000. Okay, I drove. These were the days when you could do shit like that. Nowadays, I would never make it. I drove from Saratoga that night. We went to Mangino's to eat. Okay, after Mangino's, you know what I did? I hit 87. I'm 95. I'm in Florida too long. I hit 87 South. And went to the fun house. Danced all night with the Bedford Park guys and everybody. No sleep till Brooklyn. Turned around. Sunday morning was back up at the spot.
I know all about those nights at the fun house. And
shout out to the fun house. I don't know if I would have tested positive back then or not that night and how I made it, but I might have been a positive test involved if I was tested. I'm not sure. I don't remember, but that's what I did.
Right out of the wilds corrected me saying Pleasant Colony was 81. So if that's a fact, I stand corrected. Was it Gato del Sol? I know it is, let me see, 79, 80. Genuine Risk was the filly that won, I think in 77 or 78.
Yeah, General Assembly won the Travers, though. People put it up, and I remember it now. It was sloppy.
Spectacular Bid was 79.
That's right. Spectacular Bid. You're right. Okay. Gato del Sol had to be 80 or 82, somewhere in the early 80s, late 70s. Gato del Sol paid like $42. Never won again.
Shout out to the Fun House. Wow. Okay, that is a real blast from the past.
You want to talk fun out? You guys wouldn't believe this. Guess what Gio said he used to do? Not only at the Funhouse, but at Studio 54 in Manhattan. I was a speaker dancer. Me. Rolling on a speaker at Studio 54 at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's not easy to do. I'd probably rip my knees apart if I did that now.
I think I remember knowing that back then.
Yeah, I was a speaker dancer.
I think I remember knowing that about you back then. I do. I think did people used to tease you about that too or no?
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember that.
Coming down and if you've never been to that nightclub, it was a big thing in the early to mid 80s.
Listen. Funhouse and Studio 54 for us, there was no line, no waiting.
Yeah.
There would be Studio 54. There'd be a line around the corner. Stupid bouncers would ignore people coming up, begging to get in. Even people waiting online. When it got to be your turn, sometimes they'd ignore you. They just shake their head no's. Anyway, we used to go park around the corner in that stupid lot where they put your car in a little thing and bring it thing. We would walk right in. They knew us. Just to open the velvet ropes, and we were in there.
The Funhouse, that's got to be served.
The Funhouse I liked better because it was just a sick place, man. There is nothing like that today. You don't know about.
And if there was any trouble, there was no knives or guns. There was an occasional fist fight or pushing match. You know, you'd go home stinking like smoke too. The whole place was. I used to wear like those Guido sweaters in the winter at the Funhouse. And when I got home, the sweater reeked of smoke. And I never smoked in my life.
the whole place was.
That's before the smoking
And
restrictions.
it was only tobacco. It was pot, angel dust, everything. That place was just a crazy place, man.
And you got pastels in Brooklyn.
That was different. There was guns and knives at Pastels.
Yeah.
Pastels was a little different, but that we used to go there during the week. Pastels was like more during the week, and on the weekends we would go to the city and go to Studio 54, Limelight. But I like the Funhouse. But
great memories. I mean, John, one more thing. Funhouse. I can't remember the diner that was close by. We would eventually end up.
Yeah, there was that diner on 10th Avenue around the corner, a couple of blocks away.
I can't remember the name.
I don't remember the name either.
It was there at the Vegas Diner in Bensonhurst.
Yeah, I remember exactly the place that you're talking about. I remember riding up, when you would come out of the tunnel and make the right to head up 10th Avenue, you'd go past West Street, past Ramrods and all those places where all the freaks would be out all over the street. Forget about the shit you used to see in the city back then.
Fun stuff.
Yeah, you got to feed the dogs. Listen, Scott, you'll get no sympathy from me. I got 11 dogs, 11. They're all inside waiting for me, but I fed them. I took them out before the show. They already know the Wednesday night routine, so they're all chilling out. They're all probably sleeping all over the place. All right, blasts from the past. Big Race Jim, I missed out on the good times. Big Race Jim was on fire last week, man. Big Race Jim had, what'd you have, like 4 winners, 5 winners?
3.
3? Okay.
But I only played like five races last weekend, so that was pretty good.
All right, all good.
Now
okay,
listen. This weekend, Jim.
Who did John pick in the Lake Placid? I picked Spaladay, but I liked 4 horses. Who did I like? Galabrand, Grayouche, Spaladay, and She Feels Pretty. But Spaladay was my top choice. Listen. Hat giveaway. Think of a good hat giveaway.
By the way, I'll give you a. This is what the new hat looks like. How's that look? Does it look not? Don't look at my face. Look at the hat.
There's mine. But we got the one with just the diamond too, the discreet one for the people that want to be discreet. So only certain people will know. 11 rescues, 1 blind and deaf dog too. Yes. No, but that's not exactly true. I have 9 rescues. 1 blind and deaf, but I have 2 champions. I have, 1 right now. I have a champion Cane Corso puppy that's 10 weeks old named Chiro. And I have on the way, was just born a week ago, a champion Dogo Argentino that's going to be named Augustus Caesar, but we're going to call him Gus. So those are 2 champion dogs that I have with the 9 rescues, but 9 rescues is a lot. And I also do a lot of fostering. Like I'll take dogs in and I'll hold them till we find a good home for them. And we vet out the homes and make sure that they're good and whatnot. And Chiro, the Cane Corso, who's only 10 weeks old, is already a guard dog, and he guards the blind and deaf dog, Baby Shark, wherever she goes. When they're all out in the yard, he tails her and guards her. He don't let nobody near her because he senses that, and she's a terror. She attacks everybody, but he don't let nobody fight back. And he's only 10 weeks old, and he's already. But those Cane Corsos, they fought lions in the Coliseum, so they don't know no fear. Did you boys run with the Lords of Flatbush? No, we were from Sheepshead Bay. We fought with guys from Flatbush, but we didn't run with them. But
and it was common not only to be out all night, but I would have like a twin cheeseburger deluxe at 5:30 in the morning, and then I was in Bedford Park playing baseball at 9. I don't know how I got through it, but I did.
Yeah, I don't know how we made it through unscathed. We're still here.
Yeah, we're survivors,
Yeah, not all of us. We lost some good people. Some good people were part of that crew.
Unfortunately.
Pete Gersey, may he rest in peace. Vinny Georgopoulos, may he rest in peace. Couple of others. I don't mean to.
Billy Ionati.
Billy Ionati, who I loved. May he rest in peace.
Joe Pellegrino.
We lost to September 11th.
Peter Gersey, you know how much ball I played with him? And one thing about him, he lived right off of Bedford Park. The sad thing about Peter Gersey, tragically, he had epilepsy.
I know.
He was home alone, and he had an attack, and he suffocated. He swallowed his tongue.
I didn't know that's how he passed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was home alone. He needed help, and nobody was there for him.
Oh man, that's and let me tell you something. He kind of reminded me of you in a way, just a sweet guy. Pete Gersey was just a nice guy.
Oh, I loved him.
I don't think there was, when I think back of those days, I mean, we had a lot of guys that were, rough guys and not so nice, but we had a lot of nice guys too. And Pete was like just almost impossible not to like.
Oh,
sweet guy,
world-class guy, great ball player too.
Yeah, good ball player. Baseball facts you can ask him just about any baseball question and he knew the answer.
Yeah.
Just sweet guy, man. Lost, all gone too soon. Every one of them. Michelle Scarpati, we lost, who I loved, very close with. Just so many people.
Listen, that's why, clearly tomorrow's never promised. I don't want to have a negative end to the show, but really embrace every day. We're in the sport of kings. Love it. Be passionate about it. Be passionate about your family. Be passionate about everything you do.
Absolutely. Keep punching. All right. We took everybody's time. Hats. Give us a good hat giveaway, man. Don't leave us hanging in the comments. Let us know what to do. Okay. That's a wrap. Have a great night, everybody. Ciao, ciao. All the best. Arrivederci.
Let's go get him.
Less than a quarter of a mile to go, and Greatest Honor starts to get away. Greatest Honor, he's an easy winner in the Holy Bull. And here he comes now. Greatest Honor finding his best ride right when he needs to, and he's going to run down during the clock to win the Fountain of Youth.
Nobody does it better.